Well, hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle, and this is Afterburner. For as long as there's been in America, well, since the end of the Civil War anyway, when we began to say the United States is rather than the United States are, the individual nations of Europe have dreamed of a super federation, a United States of Europe. And as the United States of America has grown in power, the push for a European Union got stronger and stronger, and now they have it. 27 countries of radically different cultural backgrounds, work ethics, and histories, united by a common currency, and especially by a very small, unelected class of professional bureaucrats answerable to no one. Hold that thought. Now, most of you know this, but for those of you that don't, people have been digging under the earth for coal and metal ores practically since there have been people. There's a great danger in mines, of course, and not just from cave-ins. Stagnant air, or poisonous gases, killed thousands of miners. And so up until very recently, men working deep underground would take a canary with them in a cage. If the canaries stopped singing and dropped dead, it was because they were more susceptible to bad air than the humans were. If the canary in the coal mine dropped dead, it was time to get out of there, and right quick. A canary in a coal mine is a warning. In Cyprus, we are, as I record this, in the middle of a new Eurozone crisis, and this is a canary deep in the coal mine because in order to continue to receive the largesse provided mostly by hardworking Germans, the Cyprus government decided to simply confiscate 10% of every person's bank account. You just think about that for a second. You go to the ATM and discover that 10% of your checking and savings just disappeared, gone, stolen. Do you go to the government to report the theft of your money by the government? They spend all of your tax money, then they borrow more until the currency is worthless, and then they steal your savings to cover the debt. Got it? Good. Get used to that idea. This, naturally enough, was going to cause a run on the banks, and that's sensible too, because if you keep your cash in a mattress, you can defend it with a shotgun. Well, in the case of the European Union, a harshly worded letter, but at least you can hide it. ATM withdrawals were limited to 100 euros. Then, when it looked like everybody was going to do the smart thing, namely take all of their money out of the banks and then burn the banks, the Cypriot government decided that rather than taking 10% of everyone's money, they'd just take 40% of those making over 100,000 euros. I wonder what will happen next. Well, you don't have to wonder, because another canary in a coal mine called France just keeled over and died. Socialist President Hollande rode to power on a promise of a 75% tax rate on those making more than 1 million euros. And then two completely unexpected, utterly unforeseen things happened. Those making a lot more than 1 million euros, including French cultural icon Gérard Depardieu, fled the country. That's like John Wayne bugging out of the USA. Those making close to 1 million euros simply did less. They hired less, they made less money. And to the utter amazement of the big-brain socialists, unemployment remained sky high. Now, they've since rescinded that tax rate, now that all of the capital and the people that generated the capital have fled for greener pastures. And since we have limited time, because we could do this all day, entire flocks of canaries die in the horrid, genuinely terrifying coal mine of the British National Health Service, the single-payer, universal coverage, government-run healthcare nirvana. The stories are too numerous and they're often too stomach-turning to repeat here, but suffice it to say that not a year goes by when we do not hear of people being sent home to die with pain pills because treatments routinely administered in the U.S. through private insurance are too costly, or I should say, especially in the case of the elderly, not cost-effective. And again and again and again and again and again, we hear of patients going days without water or food, of them lying in their own filth and urine, desperately drinking water from flower vases because of government spending cuts. These are canaries in coal mines, because this is not an academic exercise in the destruction of our allies and brothers in Western civilization. No. No. This guy and the people around him, but generally not the people who voted for him because most of them can't find Europe on a map, this guy is determined to bring all of that over here. Like all of those pointy-headed, power-mad, money-wasting, control-freak intellectual morons in Europe, our own pointy-headed, power-mad, money-wasting, control-freak intellectual morons here in the U.S. are marching into the mine shaft full speed ahead, determined to copy these insane policies of failure and ruin and death in the coal mines of Europe right here in the bright, open sunshine of what was once the most free air ever breathed on planet Earth.